The rain came suddenly, drumming against the pavement like it had a message it wanted me to hear. I stood outside the office building, my cardboard box of belongings clutched to my chest, and I couldn't even remember the last time I had felt the world press down on me like this. My boss's words echoed in my ears, clipped and final. "We're letting you go." Effective immediately. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the box at the wall and watch it explode. But instead, I laughed, the kind of hollow laugh you make when your life has just been turned upside down and there's nothing left to hold on to. I didn't notice the umbrella at first. I didn't notice him. Then he was there, a stranger stepping from the shadows, holding a black umbrella that seemed impossibly large for one person. His eyes met mine, calm and steady, and for a moment, I felt like he had been waiting there all along, waiting for me. "You look like you could use some shelter," he said. I blinked. I'm fine." "You're not," he replied softly. "Come walk with me. You won't get wet." I don't know why I followed him. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was the sudden warmth that emanated from him, a quiet reassurance I hadn't felt in years. We walked together under the umbrella, the city blurred around us by rain and neon light. He didn't ask my name. He didn't offer his. He didn't even try to make small talk. Instead, he asked one simple question. "What's breaking you tonight?" And against my better judgment, I told him everything. I told him about my job, about the late nights and the sacrifices, about how I had given my life to something that simply didn't care. I told him about the creeping loneliness, the fear that I wasn't enough, that I might never be enough. And he listened. Not with pity. Not with judgment. Just listened. And then he said something I'll never forget. "You weren't rejected. You were redirected." Redirected. The word landed in my chest, strange and foreign, but somehow comforting. "I don't understand," I whispered. "You will," he said, tipping the umbrella slightly as if acknowledging that my world was still too heavy for me to hold alone. "Just keep walking." Before I could ask him how he knew my name, he stepped back into the rain, disappearing as suddenly as he had appeared. I was left standing there, soaked, heart pounding, clutching an empty umbrella, but somehow, strangely, lighter. I didn't know it then, but that night was the first in a series of encounters that would quietly, mysteriously, and irrevocably change the course of my life. I walked home slowly, my mind racing. Part of me wanted to dismiss it all as coincidence, a trick of exhaustion, rain, and loneliness. But deep inside, a quiet voice whispered something I couldn't ignore. "Pay attention. Something is coming." "What kind of help?" I asked. "The kind you can't see yet," she said, reaching into her pocket. She pulled out a small silver key, warm to the touch. "This is for later. When the time is right, it will guide you." I held it in my palm, staring at it as if it might suddenly vanish. "Why me?" "Because you're ready," she said. And just like that, she skipped away, disappearing into the crowd before I could ask another question. I stood there, stunned, gripping the key. The rain began to fall lightly again, gentle and patient, as if the world itself had paused to witness what was unfolding. That evening, I found myself sitting alone in my apartment, staring at the silver key on my table. I turned it over in my hand, feeling the weight of it, more than metal, somehow. It was a promise, a reminder, and a mystery all at once. The next day, my phone buzzed with an email I wasn't expecting. "My ex-boyfriend, Daniel. I heard about your situation. Can we meet?" My first instinct was to ignore it. I wanted nothing to do with the past, with the reminders of someone who had once held my heart, and let it slip away. But part of me was curious. Part of me was lonely. And another part, well, it felt like the same subtle tug I had felt with the stranger in the rain, like the universe was nudging me forward. I agreed to meet him at a small cafe downtown. When I arrived, Daniel was already there, sitting at a corner table with a hesitant smile. He hadn't changed much, still the same familiar face, still that same look in his eyes that used to make me feel seen and safe. We talked. Tentatively at first, then with more ease. Memories of laughter, of quiet nights and whispered conversations, floated between us. But beneath it all, I could sense a tension, a truth unspoken. Something was off. Halfway through, I felt it again. The same quiet, insistent presence I had felt the night of the umbrella, and with the girl in yellow. A whisper inside me. This is not your path. I froze for a moment, heart hammering. Then I nodded softly. I think I should go. Daniel's face fell. Go? Yes, I said. I'm not the person you need me to be anymore. And I'm not the person I thought I was yesterday. I walked away, leaving him in the cafe, leaving the past behind. The rain had started again, light and cleansing. And for the first time in months, I felt a quiet strength building inside me, subtle, steady, like a flame that refused to be snuffed out. That night, I held the silver key close, thinking of the little girl, the stranger, the whispers guiding me. Something was unfolding in my life, not fast, not loud, but steady, deliberate, and miraculous. And I was learning, slowly, that miracles didn't always announce themselves with thunder. Sometimes they arrived as quiet nudges, as moments of clarity, as people showing up when you least expect them. I drifted to sleep that night, a strange sense of anticipation pulsing through me. Something big was coming. And somehow, I already knew I wouldn't face it alone. The next few days felt like walking through fog. The city was alive around me, but I moved through it in slow motion, my mind caught between disbelief and awe. The silver key rested in my pocket like a small heartbeat, a secret pulse that reminded me there was more to my life than what I could see. Work had returned to its usual chaos, but something had shifted in me. I noticed the small things now, the way sunlight pooled on the conference table, the hesitant smile of a coworker, the quiet hum of the office elevator. For the first time in months, I felt present. Alive. Attentive. But life doesn't let you feel safe for long. It started with my finances. Bills I thought I had under control suddenly demanded attention. Rent, utilities, credit cards, everything came due at once. I sat at my desk one evening, staring at the mounting numbers, heart racing. Panic threatened to overtake me, but I remembered the whisper I'd felt that day in the cafe. This is not your path. I took a deep breath. I could feel that same strange presence, that subtle guidance nudging me forward, telling me that everything wasn't as dire as it seemed. So I did what I didn't know I could do, I asked for help. I called my mother, admitted my fears, and she listened. Really listened. She offered what little she could, but more importantly, she reminded me that I didn't have to face everything alone. Then came the unexpected encounter at the office. A woman I barely knew, a colleague from another department, appeared at my desk. Estella, she said softly, almost nervously, I had a dream about you last night. I blinked, unsure how to respond. A dream? Yes, she said, voice shaking. You were standing in the dark, calling out for help. And I couldn't reach you. And then, someone pushed me toward you and told me, tell her she's not alone. So I'm telling you. My chest tightened. I didn't know what to say. I felt the same warmth I had felt with the girl and the stranger. The same sense that something beyond ordinary was moving in my life. Thank you, I whispered. She smiled, relief washing over her face, and walked away. I sat there, hands gripping the edge of my desk, stunned. The world felt both smaller and larger at once, smaller because it felt like the universe was somehow conspiring to guide me, and larger because I realized I was just a small part of something much bigger. That evening, I found myself walking home through the quiet streets. Rain fell softly, not like the storms of that first night, but like gentle encouragement, washing the city in silver light. My thoughts drifted back to Daniel, to the proposals, to the mysterious key. Everything was connected, I realized. Even if I couldn't see the pattern yet, I could feel it. Then, something happened that made my heart stop. A man appeared in front of me on the sidewalk. Not the stranger from the rain, someone different but equally still, equally calm. He didn't speak at first, just watched me with eyes that seemed to see straight through my exhaustion, my fear, my self-doubt. "You're on the right path," he said finally. "Even if it doesn't feel like it." I swallowed hard. "Who are you?" "A friend," he replied. "One of many. You're being guided, Estella. Don't resist it." I wanted to ask how he knew my name. I wanted to ask what he meant. But before I could, he turned and disappeared down the street, leaving only the faintest scent of rain, and something else I couldn't identify, something comforting. I walked the rest of the way home in silence, my chest tight with anticipation. I realized then that miracles weren't always loud. They didn't always arrive in bursts of light or thunder. Sometimes they arrived in whispers, in nudges, in people who appeared just when you needed them, then vanished. The next morning, I woke with a strange clarity. The weight in my chest that had plagued me for weeks felt lighter, almost gone. It wasn't magic. It wasn't luck. I couldn't explain it, but I knew something had shifted. I reached for the silver key, turning it over in my hand. Its warmth reminded me of the little girl, the stranger in the rain, the colleague who had delivered that dream message. The key wasn't just a physical object anymore, it was a symbol. A promise. A guidepost that whispered, "Keep going. You are ready." At work, I found myself unusually focused. My tasks, which had once felt endless and exhausting, now seemed purposeful. I noticed solutions where I had only seen problems. Ideas flowed in ways I hadn't expected, as though my mind itself had been unlocked. Then came the meeting I had been dreading. My boss, Mr. Navarro, had called me into his office with a serious expression. I braced myself for disappointment. I expected a lecture, criticism, maybe even termination. But when I walked in, he slid a folder across the desk toward me. "This came in yesterday," he said, voice calm but tinged with surprise. "A proposal. Full details, innovative solutions, written in your style." I blinked. I didn't submit anything." He raised an eyebrow. "Well, it's here. And it's excellent. I want to implement it. Immediately." My hands trembled as I took the folder. Pages I didn't remember writing lay neatly before me. And yet, every word felt like it had come from me, the me I had been too exhausted, too disheartened to access until now. I realized then that the series of small miracles, the whispers, the guidance, the encounters, had led me to this. To clarity. To confidence. To action. By the end of the day, my department was buzzing. Colleagues came to congratulate me, unaware that I had no recollection of authoring the proposal. I smiled, answered their questions, and nodded politely, but inside, my heart was racing. Something larger than myself had been at work, and I felt its presence in every confident step I took. That evening, I returned home to find the silver key glowing faintly in the dim light of my apartment. Not literally glowing, of course, but it radiated significance, importance. I knew it was time. I approached the spare room, the one I rarely used, where I had first started noticing these strange patterns in my life. The door was locked, though I had never locked it before. Hands shaking slightly, I took the key and inserted it into the lock. It turned perfectly. The door creaked open, revealing an empty room, familiar yet strange. On the desk lay an envelope, handwritten, elegant. I opened it carefully. Inside was a single line. "You were never alone. Even when you felt lost, guidance was with you. Trust it." And beneath that, 3 words. Live. Don't hide. Tears blurred my vision. I pressed the note to my chest, feeling an overwhelming mix of relief, joy, and reverence. Everything, the stranger, the girl, the dreams, the whispers, it had all been guiding me to this moment. To trust. To believe. To act. In that moment, I understood, miracles aren't always about grand gestures. They are the subtle, quiet forces that lead us to courage, clarity, and purpose. They are the unseen hands that push us forward when we are ready, the voices that speak when we listen, the signs that appear when we pay attention. I sat there for a long time, letting it sink in. I was ready to live fully again, to embrace my path, and to trust that whatever came next, I would not face it alone. In the days that followed, I moved through life with a sense of purpose I had never known before. It wasn't that everything became easy, no. Life still had its sharp edges, its demanding responsibilities, and its moments of doubt. But the difference was me. I wasn't the Estella who lived in fear of failing. I wasn't the Estella who thought she had to carry everything alone. I wasn't the Estella who believed miracles were rare and reserved for other people. Something inside me had awakened. Or maybe, something had been waiting for me to finally notice it. At work, my sudden surge of innovation didn't go unnoticed. Mr. Navarro called me into the conference room one Thursday morning. His expression was unreadable, a mix of curiosity and genuine admiration. "Estella," he said, sliding another folder toward me, "we're promoting you." I froze. "Promoting me?" "Yes," he said with a small smile. "To project coordinator. Your ideas have transformed this place. Your leadership these past weeks has been remarkable. You've earned this." For a moment, I couldn't speak. A warmth spread across my chest, the same warmth I felt the night I met the stranger in the rain. I whispered a quiet "thank you," though I wasn't sure if it was meant for him, or for the unseen forces that had guided me to this moment. I walked out of the conference room with tears threatening to fall, but they weren't tears of fear anymore. They were of gratitude, of realization, of awe. And yet, the greatest miracle came not through work, not through encounters, but through something far deeper. My heart. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, the silver key resting in my palm. I closed my eyes and breathed deeply, for the first time in a long time, without heaviness. Without the sense of being chased by life. I whispered softly into the quiet. "Thank you for not giving up on me." It didn't matter whom I was addressing, God, fate, the universe, my guardian angels. What mattered was that I understood now. Miracles don't always save you. Sometimes, they guide you to save yourself. And that was exactly what had happened. The next weekend, as sunlight spilled across my apartment floor, I caught my reflection in the mirror. I stared at the woman looking back at me. She looked peaceful. Sure. Alive. Finally, I whispered the truth I had been circling around for weeks. I am the miracle. The room felt warmer. Softer. Filled with a quiet presence. It wasn't the stranger from the rain. It wasn't the little girl. It wasn't the mysterious man on the sidewalk. It was something, or someone, that had been with me all along. And I knew I wasn't meant to keep this story to myself. I wasn't meant to hide. I was meant to share what I had lived. To remind someone out there, maybe you, that miracles still happen. That guidance still finds us. That even when we feel abandoned, heaven finds a way to send us a message. Maybe through a stranger. Maybe through a dream. Maybe through a key. Maybe through a story like this one. So I leave you with this. You're not as lost as you think. You're being guided too. Listen. Watch. Trust. Your miracle may already be on its way. And if this story touched you, inspired you, or reminded you of the strength within you, like this video, share it with someone who needs hope. And subscribe to our channel for more stories that uplift the soul. Because somewhere out there, someone is waiting for a sign. And maybe you will be the miracle they're praying for.